What is going on? AFC East champs in the building. How does that sound? How you like me now? Fellas. First time since 95, AFC East champs, the Buffalo Bills. It feels good too, doesn't it?
Heck yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
Deja vu.
Clayton, I don't know how old you were in 1995. And I don't even know if well, congratulations on your first AFC East title there, bud. All right. Guys, we got a great show lined up. We're not going to talk so much about the game yesterday. We're going to talk about this team in general, mostly tonight, and moving forward in expectations. But hey, we want to do something different a little bit tonight. As you guys come in, put where you're from. We're going to start announcing some cities and stuff. We want to see who's the furthest Bills fan, Bills backer, if you want to call it that. Put where you're from. And we'll try to put up on the screen and see how far we can get. Maybe we can get to 7. How many continents? I ain't been to school in years. Jesus Christ. But, guys, the Bills came out and won. As you can see, Fred Kilmartin has his 1993 AFC champs sweater on, and I have my retro Thurman Thomas 1990 jersey on. And like, well, you know, we used to wear the headbands. Thurman was my guy. So yeah, Clayton is a young buck into his first title. So he doesn't have any fan gear because he wasn't born when the Bills were winning like that. So he has his regular Colt friends attire on, and that's okay because he'll have some this week.
Yep, it's coming on the moon. It's on its way for Christmas.
All right. So, guys, what a day. I think this is something that we all felt coming. I don't think there was any chance that anybody thought that we were going to go in that game in Denver and just lose. And they went on there, and our boy Josh Allen put on a show. A show. Clayton Garrett, what do you think about Josh Allen? Can the man get some respect?
Well, yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, a lot of people were talking about leading up to this game, like the Denver Broncos are a team to be messed with in the AFC. Like the Bills are a pretty good team, but they're not quite ready for what they're going to get from the Denver Broncos. I wasn't really sure what people were talking about because I don't know if the Broncos were ready for what the Bills were bringing to the table yesterday. You saw what the Bills were able to do. You know, it was fed to us all week how this was the best red zone defense in the NFL, that being the Denver Broncos, and that seemed to be not a challenge for the Bills. They didn't get into the end zone on 2 occasions yesterday, but on the rest of their offensive possessions, they scored 48 points, and it felt like they could have put up 60 in this game. Josh Allen needs the respect he deserves. He just went in there and knifed through a top red zone defense, a defense that a lot of people said that wasn't getting the credit that they deserved. Well, if they weren't getting the credit they deserved, they're not going to get it after this performance by Josh Allen. Or maybe Josh Allen should be put more so into the MVP conversation, like I've been campaigning for all season.
Fred?
Oh, first of all, let me do this.
Oh, wait a minute. We almost forgot tradition. The Bills won still, and we got the bucket hat. So bucket hat, Fred. You guys know tradition if you've been watching the show. Every time the Bills win, Fred turns into bucket hat. Fred, hopefully we wear that all the way through February, March, April, May, June, and all the way to next year camp. But Fred, what do you think about Josh Allen's performance yesterday?
I mean, I'm going to second what Clayton says. I mean, with this performance, if he's not in the MVP category or even in the talks, and I don't know what the NFL is watching, because this was another great performance, and not just by Josh Allen, but overall the defense, the special teams, everybody was playing hard, and I think the national media does not want to give the Bills the credit that they deserve, because the fact is that they're almost trying to say that this was a trap game and that the Bills are going to lose to the Broncos, but I kind of had that feeling all day yesterday, like this is going to be a rollover. And it was right from the beginning. Josh Allen, again, he threw his, 7th 300-yard game. He tied Drew Bledsoe. Bledsoe did it in 2002. So, I mean, he's breaking all kinds of records this year alone. And you know what? The sky's the limit for this kid. I'm very impressed with the way he plays, especially yesterday. Very impressed.
No, you know, he did what he's supposed to do. And when you see a team, and especially going to a game like Denver, and we've talked about all year about closing out, whether it's games, going to games against opponents who you should beat, and looking like a dominant football team. And as the season's progressing, we have looked more and more like a dominant football team. And yesterday was the indication that, hey, this team right here can be dominant. They can come out and literally, if you want to call it that, stomp you out. And that's what they did to Denver. They came out and they stomped them out. Denver got a little bit close before halftime, and Buffalo said after half, not going to happen. We're going to come out here. We're going to steamroll you. We're not even going to give you a chance to breathe. We're simply going to smother you. And that's what they did. Offensively, defensively, they smothered them. And like I said, Denver's is not a good football team. And Buffalo beating them 48-19 showed like, hey, we're going to come out. We're going to do what we're supposed to do. We're going to do what we know we need to do. And we're going to go ahead and take this AFC East title home. And guess what? Right after the game, what were they saying? Oh, that's great. We love it. We're not done yet.
Won but not done.
Won but not done. And it was instantly. I mean, how can you not love this team at this point?
I mean, you got to look at this team, and they got a goal, and they are focused. They got a goal in their mind. And I think it's from Bean to McDermott to this whole squad and the whole coaching staff. They have something in their sights, and they're set on that sight. They're set on that goal. They want more than an AFC division champs. They want more than a playoff win. And this team looks hungry.
You know, I think we talk about this kind of thing every single week, and especially leading up to that Broncos game, because Fred, in his first in his point on the onset, he mentioned the trap game, those words, the trap game. And I remember Jeffy Vito on the Overtime podcast last Tuesday morning, said there's no such thing as a trap game with Sean McDermott as your head coach. And that, I feel like that's always been true. Like, there's never been a trap game with Sean McDermott as head coach. And the reason that is because they take every game for what it's worth. They take it 1 week at a time. It's a week-by-week league. It's a matchup-by-matchup league. And like you said, Jeremy, you know, as soon as they win the AFC East title, the first AFC East title in 25 years, or two and a half decades, their first divisional championship. And, you know, hey, yeah, it's great, but we're looking to win a Super Bowl. That's what they have their eyes set on. They have their eyes set on the true pinnacle. And, you know, that's something it's great to hear from a football team like this, because there's a lot of times you see teams like this that sometimes get to a peaking point of a season, make a high milestone. And then they've reached their peak, and then, hey, that's your peak. You're going to come down from that point. And that's something that I've been interested to see from this football team. And they haven't shown any signs of peaking anytime soon. And that is all the more promising as they lead into the playoffs.
No, and you're exactly right. And like I said, it's Sean McDermott, and we keep going back to this point every single week where he said, you don't want to be playing your best football in September and October. You want to be playing your best football in November and December. And this team is clicking to the point where now you have people like Colin Cowherd and other guys jumping on the bandwagon saying, hey, this just might be the best team in football. Now, am I going to crown them that? No, I'm not going to crown them that yet. Because, like I said, you got to win a playoff game first before we get a certain level of respect. We saw a Cincinnati Bengal franchise who actually looked a lot like this franchise does right now. Never win a playoff game under Marvin Lewis. So, do I think Buffalo is that? Absolutely not. I think this team is a true Super Bowl contender, and I think they're going to be a true Super Bowl contender for a couple years to come here. But at the end of the day, until you get that one win, you're not going to get that certain respect level. But I think they're right there. I think they're right there, and I think they're primed to make this run and do this.
And if you look at this team overall, I mean, this defense was impressive yesterday. The fact is that I noticed the defense resembled some of the defense from 2019. Before last week, I think it was, I was mentioning a lot of missed tackles. There was no missed tackles. There was gang tackles. Everyone's head to the ball. That's what I noticed with this defense. They were flying around. They were being physical. Everybody seemed to do their job.
Do your job. That's classic. That feels good. I know who won't be doing their job this year in the playoffs, and that'd be New England. They won't be doing their job. They'll be doing their yard work or groundwork or kitchen work or fishing or whatever you want to do, because they're eliminated. Bye-bye. See you later, New England. That feels good, too. That's an extra special with a little cherry on top. But, no, you know, it feels good. And, you know, yesterday I made a boo-boo, okay? I had if you guys are wondering what happened with us releasing the Bills AFC East champion graphic at 15 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You know how when you're winning a championship and they get the locker room ready with the champagne and the confetti. So when the players come in, they're ready to go. So I was getting the graphic ready and typing everything in. I was at work, okay, and I accidentally hit the button, okay, and it posted. And at that point, it was just like, oh, well, screw it, man. You know what? We're up 35-13. This team ain't coming back. Oh, well, so be it. But what I saw from that was a lot of us fans, a lot of people were calling us names. They called me D-faces and a whole bunch of other stuff. Really not very nice of you guys. But what I noticed is that people were talking about jinxing us and this and that. Well, yeah, well, I think we're to the point in Bills Mafia and as fans in general where we don't expect this team to win. We don't expect them to close it out. But you know what? End of the day, it's okay. We have a good football team. But we can expect this team to win. It's a different era now. We can expect them to win big games. We should expect them to close out games. And we should expect them to beat the holy hell out of bad football teams. It's okay. We have to change our own narrative now moving forward. You know what I mean? That's what we have to do. This is a great football team. And this is a great franchise. And it's going to be for years to come. So let's stop holding our chest like this during the game. Like, oh, where are they going to win? And let's just relieve yourself and sit back, have yourself a little glass of wine or Kool-Aid if you're underage, and say, hey, it's all right. This team's going to win. That's it.
And you know what? That's how the mindset used to be in the 90s, is that I didn't care who the Bills were playing. I didn't care what the score was in the third quarter. I knew the Bills were going to win. But then you come and you got people that have been a fan since the 2000s, and you're like, oh, here comes a letdown. But you know what? I don't think this team's got that in them. I think this is a team that's built to win, that's built to have success, and they don't care what team they face on Sunday, Monday, or even Saturdays. They don't care who it is. They're going in there with the mindset that they are going to win.
The confidence of that football team, the Buffalo Bills, I don't know how at least half of it hasn't run off on some of the fans at this point. Because you look at this team and how confident they play football on both sides, or not even just both sides, all phases of the game. They're confident in every single phase, on every single snap, in every single game so far this season. And that kind of defeatist attitude, that's what I was talking about last week with people saying, oh, this might be a trap game. This might be the game where I feel like everyone's just waiting for that letdown. Everyone's waiting for the letdown that everyone's grown used to come by with the Buffalo Bills over the years. I don't think it's not coming with this team. I'm not looking for a letdown with this team. You look at the intricate things that they're performing in, how they're executing, how well they're playing in every facet. There's not a letdown coming. So stop waiting, and I hope you're not holding your breath, because you watch Josh Allen play football. You watch Sean McDermott coach. You watch this defense fly around playing physical and making plays. Stop waiting for the letdown. It's not coming anytime soon.
All right. And before we get too far in this show, I actually want to give a shout out to our friends over here at Discover 716, who are supporting small businesses and giving kids internships out of college to make sure that they get started with their career. So they're doing a great job over there, Damian Spalla and those guys. Great article by Marissa Packard over there on Discover 716 on about Code for Report, how we began and things as such. So please go check that out. So check out our friends at Discover 716. If you wonder where I got this cool Bills Mafia headband throwback, it's my guy Rob Liner over there at Baker Band. So make sure you check him out. And this with my retro Thurman jersey. I'm going back 90s because we're throwing back the clock, turning back the clock. Let's go run through the playoffs now. We used to beat up on KC in the playoffs, right?
Yep. Last time we put 40 points up was actually a 54-31 beating up of the Kansas City Chiefs in 2008.
I could take another one of those. But no, I just think, I know we got some questions here, but let's talk about the game just a little bit here with Stefon Diggs. Now, obviously, we know Stefon Diggs. What else can we say about this dude, man? I mean, this dude's literally been unstoppable. He picked up this week right where he left off last week in the second half, and they had no answer for him, and I haven't seen an answer for Stefon Diggs all year. Fred, I mean, is this perhaps the single most influential trade in the history of the Buffalo Bills, possibly?
Absolutely. I mean, this could be one of those ones that pushes this franchise over to become a dynasty. I mean, it happened before the Dallas Cowboys when they got rid of Herschel Walker, and then boom, they go out and win two Super Bowls, and then all of a sudden they're a dynasty. Same trade like this could happen too. This kid is embracing Buffalo. He's embracing his teammates, and he's a baller. Like you said, JT, he did not. It looks like he didn't stop playing from last week against Pittsburgh coming into this Denver game. He just took right over where he left off. 11 catches, 147 yards. I mean, the 55-yard was his longest one. But, I mean, this kid just keeps making plays after plays. I don't know how or what corners in this league is going to defend this kid, to stop this kid.
Yeah, I mean, Stefon Diggs, he's on fire. You look at how Josh Allen performs on a weekly basis and who he looks to the most. Stefon Diggs and Cole Beasley, we can't forget him. Both these guys going over 100 yards in this game. It was pretty obvious what the focal point of the offense was going to be. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them make plays. And you saw, I mean, it's getting to the point where Stefon Diggs is going out there and he's just doing what he has to do, doing whatever he wants to do. He's getting 7-8 yards of separation with just his feet. And that's some things that you just don't see in the NFL. I'm watching the games today. I'm not seeing guys break corners in coverage the way Stefon Diggs does, almost with pure consistency. And you see what he's able to do with the football in his hands, how he's able to create yards after the catch. It's incredible. I don't think Jeremy and I, we've said it time after time on this show. We expected Stefon Diggs to be good, but I'm not sure if we ever expected him to be this good. And I see somebody, Justin Politnikoff, in the comments saying Diggs equals AFC Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, hey, why not? Stefon Diggs is definitely one of the most influential. Jeremy asked, is this one of the most influential trades in franchise history? If the Bills end up winning a Super Bowl this year, it's going to go down as one of them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Ray Cruz, who always keeps us on point. Ray Cruz is always keeping us on point in this show. He said, no, give kudos to the Cornelius Bennett trade. And you know what? I always forget about the Cornelius Bennett trade because I forget that Cornelius Bennett was actually traded here. Idiot Colts for that, but I forget that he was traded here because he came his rookie year, right?
Yeah.
So I always forget that. And you know what? Shout out to Cornelius Bennett for actually being a Hall of Fame semifinalist. Hopefully he gets in because he was super influential. And before he gets into the Hall of Fame, I'm hoping he's the next Bill to get his name on the Wall of Fame because he should be on there, and it's a crying shame that he isn't. So let's Pagulas have been fixing a lot of things from the past, so let's fix that crime of the past as well of not getting Cornelius Bennett on that Wall of Fame because he definitely should be.
Absolutely.
But no, I just Stefon Diggs is, like I said, he is better than I expected. I thought he was a number one receiver, and I thought he could be an elite receiver, but I don't even know what you call this type of season. This is just crazy. I mean, you can't stop him deep. You can't stop him short. You can't guard him man. You can't guard him in zone. I haven't seen this type of dominance from a Bills receiver since Eric Moulds.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Eric Moulds for actually, writing the thing he wrote about Stefon Diggs. And, I've gotten to speak to Eric quite candidly over the last couple of months. Mostly on almost every other day basis at this point now. We always talk. He's probably getting bugged to hell by me now. I'm always asking him a question like, Eric, what do you think about this? Hey, Eric, what do you think about this receiver? Hey, Eric, how do you beat this type of coverage? So he's probably getting bugged. But hey, keep asking questions. But no, I think he is better than advertised, and he has opened up a thing for Cole Beasley. And we would think that with John Brown being on this lineup, that okay, maybe they can bracket Diggs a little bit better. No, you still can't. There's nothing you can do to stop this dude. And for all those people talking about, what happened with him in Minnesota, I'm actually happy that he was very transparent this week and talking about the situation in Minnesota and what really happened and what went on. Because I think we'd all left us kind of wondering when you look at the stats, it didn't make sense. But when he actually explained it, I'm like, okay, I get it. Now it just makes sense. But then you see a game like today with Minnesota and Justin Jefferson, a rookie, cursed at Kirk Cousins. Hey, I'm just saying. Maybe Stefon had a point.
Valid. Get out before the getting's good. Get out.
Right.
He wants to play. He wants the football. It's plain and simple. He wants to have success in this league. And he wants to be a superstar. He wants to be a Hall of Famer. There's nothing wrong with having a goal, especially as a player. set for yourself as an individual player, and that's what he wants to do. And I'll tell you, this is the best thing that Bean and Sean did was bringing in Stefon Diggs. We said we needed a true number one wide receiver. We got one.
Yeah. I said it after the Houston game. You get Josh Allen, an alpha wide receiver. You're going to see him turn into an MVP caliber football player. And that's come to fruition this season. And Stefon Diggs continuously going on tears of 10-plus catches, 100-plus yards, scoring touchdowns. It's evident as to why this Bills offense is so successful, why they're so multidimensional, and why this quarterback's able to come out there and flourish on every single given snap.
Right. It's very interesting, and it's gonna be a thing to watch going forward, as far as how we respond and what we do as far as when we get John Brown back, because Cole Beasley and Cole Beasley's another one. I mean, we need to talk about him. He's locked in. He's just as locked in as Stefon Diggs. And all these guys that making tough catches, they're taking some hard hits too. A couple hits scared me yesterday. I'm not gonna lie.
And these guys getting banked up pretty good.
Yeah, right. And these guys get hit, make the tough catch, limp off for maybe a play or two, maybe tap their head, and they get back in there and they're killing it. They're killing it again. So I mean, how much credit do we think the Buffalo Bills training staff deserves? Because obviously we know this was the training staff of the year last year, and one of the top training staffs in the NFL for the last couple years. I briefly talked to Lorenzo about this, I think on an early podcast during the season, and he said that what they do in Buffalo now with their training staff is they're very innovative now. They find ways to do things differently to keep players healthier, safer, and better in shape. And I think it shows. We have not been hit with the injury bug, and I mean, knock on wood, we haven't been hit with the injury bug in over 2 seasons now, and this being a no off season where we've seen the 49ers lose like 8 people week 1.
You know what? Really? It might have to be something to do with the new facility we have though too. The Pagulas actually had a state-of-the-art facility built right there, right where they practice. So it's kind of convenient for these guys to go home, work out, come back. You know what I mean? They got everything there that they need. And maybe that's what Buffalo was missing all these years, because I remember not too long ago, we actually led the league in injuries. I think we were up to like 23 starters at one time that were injured or on IR. So that's changed. And we know another thing is that these players want to play for Sean McDermott. And I think a lot of times the coaching staffs that we had in the past, I won't mention any names, the players ding their toe and they don't want to play. You're not seeing that now. Now these players want to be out there. They want to play. They want to compete with each other.
This team hasn't been ravaged by injuries this year by any means, but they've definitely – I felt like they've had their fair share along the way. Players in certain areas of the field. But I think something that's allowed people to not be able to notice it just as much is just the incredible depth they've built up on this football team, especially along the interior of that offensive line. Do you have any clue how many teams would just be inept with the offensive line that they'd have to have if they had to sustain the amount of injuries that the Bills did along the interior at one point this season? Once John Feliciano got back, but the point is the depth that the Bills are afforded gives them the ability to allow these players to heal up and get back to full percentage. They're not coming back at 90, 70, 85%, and they're not playing at half speed and potentially leading themselves to getting more injured. So I think the Bills players being afforded with quality talent behind them and players that are able to walk in and not necessarily fill their shoes entirely, but be able to have sustainable play for a short stretch of time, that's what's afforded these players to be able to sit on the bench, get healthy if necessary, like John Brown, like Matt Milano. So I think that's something this training staff, like you said, Jeremy, I mean, if Lorenzo says they're being innovative, I mean, we've talked about it. We've seen how far this training staff has come. Fred, you alluded to it. However many years ago, they were having interns from the University of Buffalo used as their training staff for a professional football team. It's definitely a 180 in terms of how this organization has gone in regards to approaching players' health and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal, and I mean, I think they deserve a lot of kudos. And like I said, obviously it's been a legit next man up philosophy here in Buffalo, and we've built depth. And I think this is something that we spoke on for the last couple of years we're doing the show. You're a good football team when you're drafting for depth.
And that's what he was doing. He said it this year. We want the
Right.
best available players.
Right.
We don't have any.
And you have to grow to that point. That's the point you have to get to. It's not, and that's the hardest point to get to, because sometimes we look at these teams and in training camp, yeah, you're 22 people, 11-11 look great. But as soon as you lose 3 or 4 or 2 on each side of the ball, it doesn't look so good. This team is absolutely stacked. We're stacked. We have depth all across the board. Now, are we at the greatest at every single position? No, we're not the best in the league at every single position. But outside of quarterback, and legitimately outside of quarterback, if anybody was to go down in this lineup, and we've kind of seen it this year, we have one, not maybe even 2 people to replace that person that is possibly starting caliber.
And we even have a practice squad that we can actually activate to the active roster.
Correct. We've seen Dane Jackson step in for 2 or 3 games and look perfectly fine. Let's not forget that we deactivate TJ Yeldon, who I think is a definitely a complimentary NFL back. Deactivated every week. Trent Murphy, I guess he's a starting caliber defense end. He's deactivated each week. Now, so I think that sale has shipped. I think we've seen Trent Murphy's last game in the Bills jersey.
And you're right, especially the emergence of Jerry Hughes, the way he's been playing the last couple of weeks. Guy's playing lights out.
Remember,
like the Jerry Hughes of old.
Well, remember, don't forget, we signed Murphy because they didn't want to put Jerry on the left side of the line. Mm-hmm. Now that Jerry's playing the left side of the line, that kicked Murphy right out the rotation and out of the 53-man or 48-man roster, period.
Made him expendable, and then you bring in Daryl Johnson, and now you got Epinesa too. So
right,
he's falling down the depth chart.
And this is to Clayton's point from a couple weeks ago, where he said, "Hey, just stop wasting the reps and give the reps to the younger guys at this point."
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you've seen that come to fruition really with A.J. Epinesa and Daryl Johnson, because not only are they taking these opportunities, they're actually making plays with them. I mean, you see A.J. Epinesa making a difference on a consistent basis. You know, when they run to his side of the field, he's defending his gap. But let's not forget the amazing game that we saw last night from Ed Oliver. And I think people forget it every single week, because Ed Oliver, he has a pretty good game almost every single week. He is a really good football player, and he is probably, I'm not going to say one of the better interior defensive linemen in the league, but given where they've played him at certain points this season, now the evolution of this defense throughout the duration of the season is leading to Ed Oliver making more of an impact along the interior. And I think that's more promising to me than anything that's involving this defense. Ed Oliver, you know, seeing him get the credit that he deserves from fans who at one point were, you know, questioning what he was doing on the interior, but he wasn't really being put in a position to succeed, and seeing him be put in positions to succeed and come away with a sack this week, that's promising. That guy, he works his tail off along the interior and run defense every single week, and losing Star Lotulelei this year really hurt his numbers. He should have a lot. He doesn't have half the sacks that he is credited for. I think he should end up having, he has a lot of pressures this year, and he would have had more if he had an adequate one technique, but you know, this defensive line, they've definitely improved. And I think that's really been the difference for this Bills defense throughout the last month. Because in this game, I felt like the Bills won in the trenches on both sides of the football. They controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides, and you saw a blowout victory. And I think those two things more times than not coincide when you see those things happen in the NFL.
And, right. To touch on your point, I'm sorry, JT. To touch on your point about the front four, that's why we're allowing our safeties and our corners to play closer to that line of scrimmage, because they are putting pressure on the quarterback. We saw Trey White again playing up on the line of scrimmage. We keep seeing Poyer play up on that line of scrimmage. This is because of the job that the front four has been doing for the pressure on these quarterbacks. They're helping these our secondary out. And, you know, Trey White, man, he had a heck of a game yesterday. You know, the forced fumble, I mean, knocking balls down. He's had a heck of a game.
Right. You know, I was actually very glad, and I was actually very skeptical of the Pagulas, personally, after their third year here. I was getting really skeptical after the Rex Ryan hire and how they handled the Whaley situation, how they handled a lot of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm happy they kept this team in Buffalo, but, you know, I was actually very happy to see them get this win and for this franchise, and they got Pagula the game ball, because obviously, you know, he has had one hell of a time with the Sabres, and he's had a little bit of a struggle with the Bills. You know, obviously nowhere near us to struggle with the Sabres, but it was good to see them get something. You know, because for as much flack as they may get for certain things, they did keep both of these franchises in Buffalo. This team was threatened to be moved. And if we remember when the Delphia scandal went down in the was it Regis family or Regis family, right? Yeah, the Regis family, when they had to sell, or they didn't sell, they went to jail, and they had to get the Sabres up. The Sabres were almost moving to Portland. So kudos to them for getting that game ball, and kudos to them for actually getting the right regime here in Buffalo and getting this thing turned around and having this thing maybe in place for some years, because we've seen owners come in like Bob Kraft, turn the page around and sustain success. We've seen owners like Jed York in San Francisco sustain success, and I think we're on the same trajectory.
Terry Pegula, a lot of people don't remember this, but he is he's from the Buffalo area. He grew up in Olean. And, now that we're talking about it, Jeremy, you're right. It's wonderful that he's keeping the franchises in the city of Buffalo, because the city needs it. The city loves their sports franchises. I'm not as much of a Sabres guy as some of their biggest fans, but this is a city that needs their sport franchises. And for the longest time, right when he was buying the team, the Bills were nothing. The Bills were nothing when he was buying the team. You're talking about a team that was in the abyss of mediocrity for such a long time that it was people felt like it wasn't a matter of if, but matter of when this team was moved to, whether it was Canada, Toronto, or wherever they were thinking about moving the Bills. But then Terry Pegula and Kim Pegula buy this football team. They hired Rex Ryan, which I'm not going to waste however much time I'd waste on this podcast talking about Rex Ryan. But they got the right people in place to make the right decisions to take this team on the ascension that they have. And you're right, it's wonderful to see them win an AFC East title for the first time in what's been 25 years, a really long time. What this football team did last night was extremely monumental, and that can't be denied. And I thought the game ball going to Terry Pegula, or the Pegulas, I should say, was very fitting.
Yeah, I mean, we did question this when they did hire Rex Ryan. As we kept saying, I think it was JT that had brought up the thing that said, these guys got to get some people with football minds in there. And I think they got the right guys. I really think they got, a young coach in Sean McDermott, and then he brought in Bean, and they've been the two of them. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job of putting this roster together and making this team irrelevant again.
I think one thing that maybe overlooked is this when it comes to this Bills franchise is the development process, right? Terry and Kim Pegulas were new owners in NFL. This is uncharted territory for them. I don't know what it's like to be an NFL owner. I'm going to assume it's not easy. It's a lot of money involved. Anything with a lot of money involved is normally not easy unless you just happen to get lucky with Bitcoin. Sean McDermott was his first year head coach coming here. That was his first head coaching job. That was a development process for him. He's getting better as time goes on. Brandon Beane, this was his first GM job. This was a development process for him. Brian Dable, this was the first year that he kept the offensive coordinator job after one season. This was a development from him. Josh Allen, rookie quarterback development, young team in general, development period. And given thanks to people like Lorenzo Alexander, Kyle Williams, and other former players, Eric Wood, that's why, because these guys helped develop these young guys and actually helped them develop them as a staff and as an organization. And that, I think that's the biggest beauty of this whole situation, is that everybody, the Pegulas, McDermott, Bean, Allen, they've all developed together. I think that's just excellent. I think that's something that a lot of us don't look at. This is literally all came together. One could not do it without the other, because nobody had did it without the other beforehand. I just think that's beautiful. I really do.
Yeah, and I think that was a fact why they brought in Frank Gore last year. I think it was to help this team because they were young and kind of give them advice on how to be a player and sustain a long-term career in the NFL. And I think that's one reason why they gave a one-year contract to Frank Gore, because Josh Allen still talks about the relationship that he had with Frank Gore. Devin Singletary talks about the relationship with Frank Gore. So bringing in these players or having these players to help the younger players, that's how you get this team to be bonding together.
This team's had their ups and downs. franchises had their ups and downs with with the management involved. The Pagulas, McDermott, and Bean, and you're right. It's been a maturation process for everybody involved. The whole entire team, every person involved in this organization has been a maturation process, and watching the ascension of everybody to this point in time, yeah, it's quite something else. You talk about where this fan base has come from, where these fans were watching football. I can't express how many different people started watching the Bills again because they were finally good. It wasn't even a matter of the Bills were kind of okay. No, they were really, really bad for a really long time, like longer than any team in the history of sports was bad. I'm not talking about championships. They've never won a championship, but that mediocrity, that amount of mediocrity for that long, it's hard to regain a lot of fans back. And getting the guys in there like Sean McDermott, like Brandon Beane, like Leslie Frazier, like Brian Dable. These are the guys that really ultimately changed this franchise. And there were players along the way that I felt changed the conception of Buffalo, changed how certain players viewed it. We can't have a conversation of this tone without mentioning a player like LaShawn McCoy, who vouched for the city of Buffalo, vouched for the Bills fans. And, that's really what opened some big players' eyes into coming into the city. And obviously, the bringing this team back to relevancy and the winning and getting the franchise quarterback all played a part in that. But I think players with the standards such as LaShawn McCoy also giving this team his vouch and his praise, that certainly has a lot of weight to be held as well.
No, I agree. And I want to play this video. Obviously, there was a lot of videos coming out last night with fans standing shoulder to shoulder in the middle of a pandemic, waiting at the airport for their team. I mean, God bless you. It would not have been me. I got people with masks, partially down. Some people don't have masks. I was a little upset seeing people high-fiving the players. I did not like that. I'm not going to lie. I probably cursed a few times at my phone. I was very upset with that. And I'm like, Josh, roll your windows up, man. Roll your windows up. The last thing we need is some COVID protocol. And it seems like the NFL don't give a damn about what type of COVID, who the player is. It seems they're going to go forward with games. So, But I want to play this little video. And this is to show, what our fan base is about and who our fan base is. And Clayton, you said something about the fan base coming back and watching, and coming back into the fold. I don't think our fans ever left. I mean, we suffer through it.
We're just hiding.
But, right. We suffer through it. I can't say that for every fan base. I can't say that if the Patriots lose Bill Belichick in a couple years and that they're a mediocre team, that fan base is going to be sticking around or actually be rabid like they were. The Bills fans were rabid and breaking decibel records almost as this team continued to lose. I can't say that for every fan base. There's only a few I can say it for. Probably Dallas. Probably Las Vegas now, geez. But the Raiders, the Bills, and Green Bay. And if I miss somebody, please let me know. But I can't say that about every fan base. So when you talk about fair weather, I think that almost every fan base has a bunch of fair weather fans, except those 5 franchises I mentioned. So I'm going to play this video. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy to see what we did and how we did it.
It was all up on the buses.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Crazy people. Look at these moves out here. They going mayhem. These motherfuckers. Woo! Ain't nothing like it, baby.
I mean,
this
go ahead.
is killing Bills Mafia not to be a part of this season, because I know it's killing me. It's killing me not to be able to go to Buffalo and watch this team win the way they've been winning. It's killing me.
Right, and we got some comments too. Cody Wells says the Browns. Yes, Browns fans are very passionate as well, and yes, Pittsburgh are very passionate. I don't want to leave those out. I would say if I missed anybody, please let them out. That doesn't mean I feel that way, but no, Yes, I mean, there's not many fans like that. And this is a year of the fans returning after we kind of blew a wild card game last year. These fans are always going to be in their back pocket. And Fred, you made a good point just now. You saying that it's killing you to be a part, not to be a part of it. But we mentioned that we hear the players mention all the time, like it's killing them for the fans not to be a part of it. And kudos to the Pagulas and the Bills once again for trying to keep the fans engaged as much as they possibly can. You know, I know I hear a lot of things about Como and things of that such. Listen, I don't live in New York State. I travel up there regularly, but if going to a game can cost somebody their life, I would rather nobody go to games. And I'm sorry, I don't care if the Super Bowl win, I don't care anything. If it's gonna cost an individual their life, and sometimes in life, those things mean a lot to us. I get it. But I'd rather have no fans if it's going to cost one member of Buffalo Bills Mafia their life. You know, last year we went through, you know, Poncho dying and things like that such. And think about how bad that affected everybody in Bills Mafia. No matter what type of podcast you were, what type of fan you were, what age, you know, that affected everybody. I don't want to see anybody lose their life. So, I mean, hopefully we can have fans for a playoff game. It would be nice. Even if it's a limited amount, but if it's going to cost somebody a life, I'd rather everybody be at home in the comfort of their own homes. I'm sorry, and maybe I'm the minority on that, but I care about others' lives. You know, I do.
Nope. And I agree with you 100%. You know, if it wasn't for this pandemic, I know Bills Mafia would be out there cheering on our team. So, but like you say, it's not worth somebody's life.
Yeah, it's not worth somebody dying. You know, everybody has a family, everybody has people that care for them and would be severely impacted if they were to, you know, leave this earth and pass away. So it's not worth it to go watch a game to risk your life. You know, it sucks that these are the times that we live in and this is what we face. I'm sure there's just as many. Everybody can't wait to get back out there, get into Bills Stadium and root on this football team, whether it's this playoff season or next September. That nobody can wait for it. And you know, a life's not worth the risk is to rush people back into viewing football live in stadiums. No.
And we know Bills Mafia is there. We see the YouTube videos. We see the videos on Facebook. We see the songs and the dancing. We know Bills Mafia is there. The Bills know we're there.
Right. Oh, Lone Wolf says he lives in Hartford, Connecticut. We have to have a beer. That's like 15 minutes away from me. So that's pretty cool. Lone Wolf. Didn't know I had another CT fan. I met a couple guys actually out here. I actually met one guy that comes to my store, and he's like, "Hey man, watch your show." I'm like, "That's pretty cool. It's dope." I thought this was all Pat's country, but maybe they are going back into hiding. Go back to the 80s. Yeah. But no. I know we had a couple questions, and I wanted to get to them. If you guys have some questions, put them in there. I know Cody Wells had a good question earlier. I think Ray Cruz had a question because we have about 15 minutes left in this show, and we want to get to some of the viewer questions about the Bills, no matter what it is. Could be the team. Oh, you know what? Cody had asked, or maybe it was Ray. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I got the name wrong who asked the question. But what do we attribute Josh Allen's accuracy improvement to? Mechanics or getting Stefon Diggs in the offense? You know, I think that's a very good question. Fred, I'll let you answer that first. What do you think was the biggest turnaround by his accuracy?
I'm going to have to say his time with Palmer. I really think that Josh has taken this offseason very seriously, and he worked on they had talked about it on Sunday Night Football, how he fixed his stance. He's got his hips coming through his shoulder. So I think it's the work that he put in, but it also has to do with Stefon Diggs being a part of this offense and the offensive line. So it's a combination of Josh putting the work in and the weapons that he has around him. That's why he's having the success.
You know, I feel like I've been the most adamant on this platform as to who really deserves the distribution of credit for Josh Allen's ascension this year. And, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to the individual. You know, some dudes have it, some dudes don't. That's just matter of fact. Some guys are going to thrill and thrive in the NFL, and some guys are going to be they amount to what was good college and high school football players. That's just the way it is in the NFL. And Josh Allen, you know, I've always had that feeling like he's different. Like watching him and seeing how he's grown from year one to year two, watching his ascension, watching the linear path of growth that he had prior to this season. it felt like it was different, and it felt like it was something that not only us Bills fans hadn't seen before, but also as NFL football fans, we just haven't seen before in an ascension in 3 seasons like that for a quarterback. And, we've talked about, to almost to death, the amount of factors that played in and how it all kind of aligned perfectly for this team. You talk about Stefon Diggs, you just talk about building this offensive line, and you talk about the front office that he landed with and who was in control with his path of his future. But at the end of the day, for me, it always falls on the shoulders of the individual whose success is, it's coming about because of his work and the work that he did that none of us watched. People can put out clips and people can record sessions of practice, but there are countless hours that go into this game for these individuals. And Josh Allen is no different. You see what he's able to do on the field. There are countless hours of work that went into that craft and went into perfecting the small, minute things that you and I might not think are huge, make a huge difference, but to professionals, it makes a ginormous difference, and that's why they're professionals, and that's why they get paid as much as they do. And Josh Allen's having the success that he's having this year at his own discretion, and the credit belongs to him, I believe.
All right. I mean, I think it's. I have to agree with you, Clayton. I agree with you too, Fred. I think it's a little bit of everything. Obviously, Stefon Diggs creating like 7 yards of separation every time he breaks a cornerback ankle, that definitely helps. But it's the work. I mean, when you now that we're getting later in the season, and you're getting more and more of these clips on prime time, because it seems like on prime time you get more in-depth clips about a player than you do obviously in a local broadcast. We're seeing how he studied the mechanics of Aaron Rodgers and hooked the digital cameras up to him to kind of mimic it, to get that repetition into his repertoire on a routine basis, if you want to call it that. We're seeing that the drop in the bucket. We saw the things that he did in the offseason as far as how he worked, how he attacked the offseason last year to work on his intermediate accuracy to short, and this offseason reattaching the deep ball to his game. It's a lot. I mean, and kudos too. I mean, I don't give a lot of credit to Brian Dable for development because I don't think he's a developmental coordinator, but he developed a relationship. He developed trust. So even he developed the mechanics, the trust factor he has with Josh played a huge part as well. So it's a little bit of everything. But let's get to another question here. Let's see here. Justin Plitnikoff says, do we finish strong or go into the playoffs with a big win streak and risk injury, or do we rest our starters for the last game or two of the regular season? For me, I think it's based off the records. I mean, if Pittsburgh loses that game tomorrow night, they play tomorrow night, right? Yes. If they lose, or they lose one of these next 2 weeks, or KC loses one of the next 2 weeks, then I think we think about it. Obviously we're still trying to catch KC, and I do believe that in a 3-way tie for 13-3, I believe for whatever reason the Bills win the tiebreaker and get to a number 1 seed. So right now we're still technically playing for a number 1 seed. So until we're mathematically eliminated from that 1 seed, I think we play them. What do you think, Brett? Okay, so you got it, Clay.
No, yeah, you're right. And until you're eliminated from the first or second seed, for that matter, in my opinion, because that's big too. Because if you're the second seed, as long as you're not playing Kansas City, which who knows, once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And the Bills would, Kansas City gets eliminated, and the Bills maintain possession of that highest seed. That's home field advantage. As long as there's implications for the seeding and playoff involved, you're playing your starters, you're playing your guys. Guys can get hurt on any given play. Obviously, the things that were happening this week with, minor injuries that didn't seem to be or appear to be serious with Stefon Diggs. We haven't heard anything about Darrell Williams yet. I don't know if the severity of that. We'll find out more as the week goes on. Players can get hurt any week, but as long as you're in contention for the higher seed in the AFC, I think you keep playing your guys.
Absolutely. I think that's the case that you want to do because everybody knows how important it is to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So if there's a chance that we can get up a little bit further to maintain that home field advantage throughout the playoffs, I think you play. But I also think, though, that if they say, guess what, hey, Buffalo, whether you win or lose, you can't advance from where you're at right now, I think then you do pull back the reins and your starters.
Right. So it's interesting, but like I said, I know a lot of people do question how the Bills get the 1 seed. I don't know where I read. I read it on Twitter somewhere, and Twitter usually doesn't lie, but if the Bills, Steelers, and Chiefs finish 13-3, the Bills get the number 1 seed. I forgot. Is that the tiebreaker?
3-way tie straight. Buffalo had the toughest schedule this year.
Right, and they won the head-to-head versus with KC had the head-to-head to Buffalo, so they go a strength of schedule. Okay, now that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's see. There was another question here. Let's see. No, Ray Cruz had one for me. He asked it twice. I want to make sure I get to it here. Where is it? It is here. Okay, here we go. Breakdown on if KC, Pittsburgh, and Bills potentially finish 13-3. Oh. Okay, well, we just broke that down. Already ahead of you, Ray. Already ahead of you this week, Ray. All right, let's see. What else we got here? We got Lone Wolf says if we in Lone Wolf comments he said if we still have a chance at the number 2 seed come week 17, I think we play the starters. If not, then treat it like a third preseason game. Okay, so that's pretty much assuming what third preseason game is. What, play a quarter, maybe 2.
Yeah, you
then
play your starter for 1 quarter, then that's pretty much it.
Yeah. It's one thing that Bill Belichick used to always say about that too. Remember when they used to have the playoffs, the buys locked up and stuff like that? He would always play his starters like a quarter or 2, like a third preseason game, like Lone Wolf is doing. And he said to keep them sharp. Would you guys worry a little bit if we somehow did get that bye week, that they would come out rusty like Baltimore did last year?
Oh man, you're making me. I think I'd be a little worried. I'd be a tad worried because if you remember when they came out of the bye this year, the offense wasn't sharp. The offense was a little clunky coming out of the bye this year. And you go back to last year when they sat their guys after 1 series versus the New York Jets. I understand a loss versus that Jets team doesn't mean anything, but the starters played 1 series and that was it. And they went into that Houston game. I believe they had lost 2 or 3 going into the playoff game, and it just did a team without momentum. Obviously, this year's a little different. If they go into this game riding a stretch of games, winning 9 of 10 or 8 of 9 or whatever it may be, if they go in that Miami game, assuming they don't lose to New England this week, they ride a wave of momentum right going into Miami like that. It's a little different. But you have to keep your starters sharp. Like you just mentioned, you have to keep them sharp. Play them a quarter, I think. Play them a quarter. Treat it like a third preseason game, like Lone Wolf is saying. I don't think if you pull those guys for a whole game and just treat it like a 1 series bye week type deal, I don't think I feel like that's a waste. You shouldn't do that. You should keep these guys mentally and physically sharp, keep them in tune, and force them and let them play a quarter, let them play a half, what have you.
Right.
Yeah, because that bye is actually changing their schedule and their routines. So you want to keep that routine and schedule in place. I'm all for playing the following week. I don't want the bye.
Right. Chase Osborne says, can we talk about how dumb the Jets are? I'm going to... I've heard this before, and I used to say this until I talked to a couple of players and coaches and things like such about situations like this and throwing games. I mean, we've seen the NBA. We've seen, things like the Philadelphia 76ers be bad for 5 years on purpose, essentially. It doesn't really work that way in the NFL because the way it was explained to me is that no team ever really tries to tank. Sometimes they throw in the towel. Players throw in the towels. But you realize some of these players that's playing on the Jets right now, they're playing for their jobs already next year because you're going to be drafting high. And if you're a starting outside linebacker, there's a chance that there's a 2nd or 3rd round linebacker is going to be taken. That could take your job. So you're playing for that. If you're a cornerback that's playing, you're playing for your job. A lot this time of year too, a lot of players are coming up from the practice squad, free agent signings. Think about when we got Isaiah McKenzie in the middle of a season with the Jets from the Broncos for the Jets game, and even though we had nothing to play for, and it was about draft status, people like Isaiah McKenzie, Robert Foster were playing for their jobs for next year. So you really don't throw anything. Now, obviously, a guy like Frank Gore playing for his job for next year, no, absolutely not. We don't even know why Frank is even still playing, but he is. But, you have to think about that, It's not cut and dry in the NFL like it is in other sports, certainly, with certain things.
But I think what he's touching on is the fact is that the Jets did beat the Rams today. That moves the Jaguars up in the first spot in the draft.
No, I get it. No, I get where he's coming. I know what he's talking about with the draft status. But the Bills didn't draft Josh Allen number 1 now, did they?
We tried to get him in 5, though. Denver said no.
Right.
The Jets losing this game, I don't know. I was kind of, but they lost 13 straight. I've gotten enough beating the Jets out of me this year. It's pretty obvious that team was a joke. I felt better for Frank Gore getting a win to I wouldn't say end his career, but if he were to end his career and with a winless Jets team, he'd have to force himself to play another season. Maybe he'll be playing until he's 40.
Where you gonna play now? New England?
Might as well.
Damn, I mean, come on, man. I don't know.
He played well today, though. He took the team on his back, and he ran hard. He was one of the reasons why the Jets won today.
I'm happy. I'm happy for him, and I hope he retires before something bad happens. I'm serious.
He's trying to play with his son. Come on.
No way. That's 3 years away. There's no way that's happening, dude.
If you can make it happen.
No GM in the league is gonna make that happen. If they do, they should be fired and seriously tested. There was another good question here. Yeah, we'll take one more question. We'll get up out of here. Ray Cruz asked another good question. You think any chance the stadium situation gets put on fast forward if the Bills make the deep playoff run this year? You know what? I think so. What do you think, Clayton?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? You talk about Peyton Manning winning Super Bowls with the Colts and that leading to a new stadium. It's going to be the house that Allen built. That's really what the new Bill Stadium is going to go down as, I believe. And it's time for one. And everybody, I understand people on Twitter. If you're in touch with what's going on Twitter, people talk about week in and week out about whether or not this is going to be a dome stadium or an open stadium. It's going to be a dome. That stadium will not be worth the money they're going to sink into it if they wouldn't be able to hold events at the venue year round and have it be the stadium for both the Bills and the Sabres, and then whatever glorious concerts they want to bring to the city of Buffalo. People should be excited for this new stadium more than they are. I feel like a lot of people are stuck in that nostalgia era where, no, the Ralph, the rich stadium, that. No, this new stadium is going to create so much. It's going to renovate Buffalo. It's going to change the economy for Buffalo. It really would. And, this new stadium that the Bills, with their success, could bring, if they go on a deep playoff run, win a Super Bowl, there's going to be some exciting things going on in the city of Buffalo and with Josh Allen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it does move forward because, if the Bills are contenders, if the Bills were to win the Super Bowl, you're going to have sponsors coming out and everything. So I think the stadium does get fast forward. And I'm all for a new stadium. I mean, you look around this NFL and you look at some of these stadiums. I mean, they're amazing. I mean, look at Las Vegas's. I mean, look at the 49ers. Look at these stadiums. That's what Buffalo needs. You know how much revenue will come to the area, and then maybe even a chance to host the Super Bowl itself. That's why you got to look at a new stadium with a dome. You can have all kinds of stuff going on all year round, not just in the summertime like right now. That's the only thing you could use Ralph for right now, or I'm sorry, Bill Stadium.
And jobs in the summertime. Jobs too.
And the thing is, for me, it seems like Josh Allen is putting up 350 to 400 yards when he's playing in beautiful weather. So, if I'm an owner, I'm going to give this dude beautiful weather, guaranteed 8 games a year. Guaranteed 8 games a year. You're getting great weather, okay? Because I want him to continue to light teams up. I don't want anything to inhibit my crossing routes to Diggs, Brown, Beasley, Davis, and whoever's going forward down the line. I want these guys to be able to run full speed all the time without any weather conditions. I'm sorry. The last time when people were talking about, weather conditions and we need to bring the snow and all this blah, 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 I seen Jay Ajayi run for 228 yards. Saw Le'Veon Bell run for 226 yards. And at that point, I realized that snow and that weather was no longer a home advantage, and I had nothing to do with it. And it's cold, and as a fan, I don't want to sit in that crap. I was at that Colts game a couple years ago, and I'm good with that forever. Ever.
I was there the following week for the Miami game. They still had 6-foot snowbanks. You couldn't even walk on the sidewalk. You had to walk on the road.
I'm good, man. I'm good, man.
Oh, my God. The snowbanks are probably taller than Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were. By halftime, they were, if they weren't at the beginning. But, yeah, no, I like the dome, but a retractable dome. Because somebody made a comment here. Rob says, a retractable dome. And yes, it would definitely be retractable because we do have some nice weather in September, October. So those would be nice outdoor games, But
Rogers Center, they have the retractable roof.
Yeah. I mean, with a retractable dome, maybe you can get a game where you got a team that's in there and they're lighting you up. They're fast. And guess what? Halftime, open that thing open. Just let the weather come in. Just slow you down a little bit.
They start the ball at half.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I think a dome retractable dome is the way to go, and I think that's what's going to happen. Most teams are doing it now anyway.
Yeah.
So, anybody got anything else to say tonight? I mean, I think we pretty much touched on everything.
No, just everybody make sure to follow us wherever you're at. On Twitter, it's at Cold Front Report. On Instagram, it's Cold Front Report _Bills News. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button. It's Cold Front Report if you're not watching on YouTube. And then if this is the first time you're finding our page on Facebook, be sure to drop a like. You know, we have engaging content coming out throughout the whole week. And stay tuned to our page because Jeff Uvino and I will be going live at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday to recap this Broncos game and talk about the Bills matchup with the Patriots. And hey, I think the Bills fans should start getting their shovels ready and not their snow shovels because the weather that's coming. I think they should get their shovels to bury the Patriots dynasty because that's what that Monday Night Football matchup's really all about, in my opinion. I really can't wait for it. I really can't.
No.
I just want to say thanks to all the fans that follow us here at Cold Front Report. And I just want to say Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope everybody has a safe and happy Christmas and stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say, you know, take this all in and enjoy this. Enjoy this ride because for fans like Clayton who are actually younger and actually never been a part of something like this. For guys who like Fred who saw everything from the rock pile up to this point. I said the rock pile. I'm sorry. Just take this in and enjoy it, you know, and enjoy this, you know. Don't get too wrapped in of feeling the pressure of Buffalo winning or not winning. Just enjoy that we actually have this to be thankful for, that we have Josh Allen, that we have Brandon Beane, that we have Sean McDermott. And this doesn't seem like a flash in the pan, right? It seems like this is something that's sustained.
Yep.
So let's enjoy that. And let's embrace the rest of this season because we know 2020 has been one hell of a year. And I don't mean that in a good way particularly. So let's just take this all in and enjoy that this team has won the AFC East for the first time in 25 years. The Patriots are eliminated, and I say that with the biggest smile on my face. I think they will be back, though. I'm not counting them out for the next couple of years. Okay? So that's why I'm telling you to enjoy this because Bill Belichick, he ain't going to let you. He's going to sleep all offseason. And he's going to find new ways to bring people in. He's going to find new ways to change things up. He may find new ways to cheat. I don't know. But he ain't going to rest until this is over. I'm being real. I'm being honest. I mean, I'm serious.
He is on the rules committee, so there'll be some new rules coming up.
Right. So let's just enjoy the run. Let's enjoy the run, man. Shout out to the Bills. We are AFC East champions. I got nothing left to say. Go Bills, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, stay tuned this week. Huge announcement, I think, coming Tuesday. Wait and see what that is. You guys are going to enjoy that one, too. So, guys, once again, great show to my co-hosts and my amigos, Fred Kilmartin, Clayton Garrett, AFC East champions. Don't get any better than that. Where would you rather be right here, right now? One, not done. Catch you later.